My grandparents still had an awareness of natural medicine and herbal medicine, and that seems to really have been lost over the last couple of generations. So what we wanted to do was just reawaken that in children. The idea of Herb Patch was to go into primary schools using very simple herbs, sensory herbs that children would already be familiar with, like lavender, peppermint, thyme. And we used plants like, for example, rosemary, that a lot of the children would be familiar with. So we'd use little things to help them, for example, rosemary for remembrance. So then we'd get them used to the idea of going out to the rosemary bush before they have a spelling test, for example, and they'd sniff the leaves. And so then that hopefully just instills this idea that rosemary is good for memory. As herbalists, we would use rosemary very frequently for people with dementia or with Alzheimer's. Obviously, we don't go into the science, particularly with the kids, but rosemary, for example, is a very strong antioxidant, so it prevents oxidative damage in the brain. It increases circulation to the brain. So they're just some of the ways that it helps with memory. So really, it's sort of just planting those seeds with the kids. Also, so that they know that if they have a pain in their tummy, peppermint helps digestion. So a lot of them would be familiar with peppermint tea. So it's just building on that knowledge.
Hi, when you receive your Herb Patch kit, you will find your 9 baby herbs in 2 containers like this, 5 in one and 4 in the other. You have a label on each of your herbs. You will have your A3 laminated teacher's aid, your introductory letter with your login details for your educational resources, some little pots to get your baby herbs started before they're ready to be planted outside, and a bag of soil, which is enough to do these pots.
It's been a collective hands-on approach from all the children, starting with planting the small herbs in small pots to watering them every day, morning and evening. So it's been a very interesting journey. We found this very interesting that herbs in general are ideal for mixing with different oils, for using on your skin or for healing rashes and different things like that. So what we actually did was we looked at this particular herb, we got up close and personal to it. The children studied the actual shape of the flower itself, the leaves. They drew the herb as well.
We created a teacher's aid which has information about the plant traditionally, about folklore. A friend of my sister's put me in contact with Dr. Sandra Austin, who was head of science education in St. Pat's Teachers Training College. I felt it was important to get full support, obviously, of the teachers, but particularly through those who were training teachers, so that we would actually make sure that the materials we included with the Herb Patch were very appropriate. And we didn't want the Herb Patch garden to just be sort of left outside and abandoned. I always felt it needed to be included in the everyday curriculum. So we worked together with St. Pat's and we created lesson plans covering, English, maths, Irish, normal curriculum subjects, but using the Herb Patch as a tool to teach those subjects.
Until you're connected with the natural world, until you understand your place within it, it's very difficult to want to care for it. And if our children aren't going to care for it, then who will? So trying to nurture that connection, trying to nurture that sense of responsibility and that recognition that the world around us is a beautiful and fragile and important place, and that we have a role to play in caring for and protecting it in the same way as it cares for and protects us. I think that's really an essential part of children's learning. And I think Jan and the Herb Patch project really feed into that. I think it's a lovely way for children to become engaged with the world around them in a very simple but effective way. As the momentum has built around the Herb Patch project, Jan and I have kept in touch, and we've continued to collaborate and bounce ideas off each other. And just recently, in the last 6 months, we've come up with another 2 lesson plans because there was I suppose we saw there was a gap still around the inquiry-based learning, so getting children to be tactile and hands-on and thinking and questioning, and so we've come up with a couple of different mysteries around the garden. So one way, you're always going to engage somebody when you hand them a mystery or a problem and ask them to solve it.
Lavender smells really good, and you can use it for body lotion and shampoo.
It has a lemon scent, and I think you can use it in shampoos and things, I think soaps as well.
I have a lemon scented candle, and I'm pretty sure that uses lemon balm.
Generally between the ages 6 and 10, but it's primary school. So but then really when the garden is there, all of the kids are seeing it, because it's usually out around where they're playing. So they see the herb garden, they all have access to it. They just love getting their hands in the dirt and actually planting the plants. And one of my favourite moments was actually one of the first schools we did in Ballyfermot. And this little boy, he was 8 years old, and I just remember he had his hands in the dirt and he just lifted up his head, not speaking to anyone in particular, and he just said, "I'm having the time of my life." And I just thought at that moment, even just for that is enough. So we start with the children, and then they bring the plants home, and then hopefully their parents learn from what the kids are learning in school. Like anything, if you have a child saying, "Oh, I need some peppermint tea for my tummy," then parents are going to become more interested also themselves.
So peppermint, it could be used for some drinks.
Okay,
It has a really nice smell.
excellent.
Lemon balm is used traditionally for anxiety and used for tummy aches.
Inquiry-based learning, or that kind of learning where you're questioning, where you're wondering, where you're getting to do your own investigating, that's really, I believe, the best way to learn. As a teacher, what you're trying to do is create memorable learning experiences, and meaningful ones. So you don't want just children learning things by rote and learning off facts. What you want is for them to create meaning within their lives. So we're trying always to make whatever we're teaching, we're trying to make it relevant to their daily experience, and we're trying to make it memorable and enjoyable. So if it is that we've discovered that peppermint tea comes from this particular plant, it has lovely furry leaves and it smells nice, the next time they're brushing their teeth, or the next time their mum is brewing a cup of peppermint tea, they'll have made that connection. They'll recognise that this is an important part of their lives. And for me, I'm very keen to point out, or to get across the message that plants are such an important part of our lives, whether it's for shelter or for food or for medicines, or just for our general well-being, that we need to appreciate them, that we need to care for them. So huge amount of learning and a huge amount of fun all at the same time. You can't ask for more than that.